Eyes locked and hearts into.
Welcome into another episode of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. My name is Andrew Putters. I'm here with my partner in crime, Joe Nicely, and he's going to tell you about our sponsor, Rotoballer. Go ahead, Joe. Tell us about Rotoballer.
Yeah, man, Rotoballer, we've been rolling over there. It's a great season, pumped up for PGA. Go check us out at rotoballer.com. You can use promo code NICE, N-I-C-E, to get a discount on the premium package. We've also got tons of free articles over there, so go check it out.
That's right. Tons of good stuff. Your man Spencer hit Rom this week for the win. He just does good on the Vegas report. I love following, reading his articles. Your buddy Josh with the course breakdown. It's unprecedented as far as research goes. A lot of good stuff over at Rotoballer. So, last weekend, Joe, let's go to the personal side first. What did you get into?
Not much, man. Hung out around the house Saturday. It looked like rain, so we didn't try to play golf. Played Sunday afternoon. We didn't get to play Sunday morning. Had to push it back to afternoon, but got to go out and play a little bit, and then got home in time to watch the end of a great tournament, man, the BMW Championship. Amazing finish. Really an amazing tournament from start to finish, I thought. We talked on this show last week about how we thought it would be tough conditions. They certainly were. We didn't think it would quite be U.S. Open tough, but it really – Olympia Fields pretty much played that way all week. So I liked that. I thought it was a really nice change of pace coming off the 30-under win by DJ. Kind of like seeing those guys out there grinding. So, yeah, man, just really enjoyed that. Played a little golf and then caught the end of the tournament. It was great.
Well, we here at my house, there wasn't any golf, but we took the kids on one last hoorah, went out and had a little fun, did a little activity because we're not far off now. We're down to days and maybe a week or so and some days till baby number 4 comes down to the poorhouse. So, yeah, we're
getting there. We're getting crunch time.
That's right. We're getting down to crunch time. So what was your I loved how the golf tournament played as far as tough conditions. Do you think it was more of course setup on Sunday, or was it more of weather related? Because I know they got a little bit of rain up there. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, you're talking about it playing easier on Sunday?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, a combination of the two. I think they probably set some kind of some scoring pin placements out there to try to provide an exciting finish. And then I think the weather cooperated. The course played a lot softer Sunday. Basically no wind versus the first part of the week. The winds were definitely something that the guys were having to deal with. So, yeah, just a combination of setup and weather playing a factor, I believe, is what made it play a little bit easier on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really say I have a problem with it, but that's, two tournaments now in pretty recent form, the PGA and then now this one, where it was very, very difficult all week long, and then Sunday they lit it up. It's not, I don't know, maybe the purist in me or the traditionalist in me, kind of likes same conditions. Yeah. I don't know.
Consistent. You like consistency throughout all 4 rounds. I think there's something to be said for that. I've never been a guy that wants the course set up to be tricked out, however you want to define that, manipulated or tricked out. I'm always really big on letting the conditions and the quality of the field determine the score. I hate it when these tournaments try to manipulate. We all love the U.S. Open, but we also know that they want the score to be around even par, and they'll do some things and lead up to the tournament and throughout the tournament to kind of get that score there. I don't think that was the case last week. Even though Olympia Fields looked like a U.S. Open course out there, I was very impressed with the course, by the way. Definitely need to get that on the schedule more often. But I thought, nature and just the length and difficulty of the course kind of did its thing, man. I don't think there was a lot of manipulation there. I think the lack of wind and the softness of the course made a big difference on Sunday, more so than probably anything the organizers did.
Right. Yeah, what really came to mind was the U.S. Open a few years back. It was a couple years ago now, where Brooks won, and like he was like 100 going into Sunday, and Fleetwood almost shot the U.S. Open record, and nobody basically shot in the 60s all week, and all of a sudden, there's 4 scores at 65 or less for the day, stuff like that. I don't know. I guess that's more the purist in me, I guess, than the.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the USGA, the organization that deals with the U.S. Opens. They really do flirt with that line of how far they can take the course with it still being playable. And sometimes they go over that line and are forced to kind of scale it back, which is that particular U.S. Open you're talking about. That was especially the case there. They almost lost the course, I think, that Saturday. And so they had to scale things back on Sunday. But, yeah, man, I was really impressed with how the course played last week. Love that course and would like to see it more often.
Yeah, we're not going to sit here and hate on the USGA, but, we want that organization to be good, but it seems like they've fallen on their face several years in a row.
They've had some bad looks. Last year at Pebble, I know it wasn't the conditions they wanted. I know the scores were lower than they wanted, but that's just the way it is sometimes. And I think you have to just kind of let nature take its course. In a lot of these situations, there's nothing you can do. And we got a course coming up at Wingfoot in a couple of weeks, which can't wait to dive into that. But it's always traditionally plays tough. We'll see how it's going to play this time of year. So that's something to look forward to and kind of keep an eye on moving forward. But as far as the BMW last week, man, I thought the course was great. Really produced an exciting tournament. You had the number 1 and 2 players in the world there at the end, the DJ and Rahm. Can't ask for much more than that. Cream kind of rose to the top, which we often see on tough courses. So it's something I'd like to see actually a little bit more of throughout the schedule, or some of these tougher layouts that kind of put these guys to the test. Really enjoy watching that style of golf. Maybe not every week, but certainly occasionally would like to see that throughout the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had John Rahm 64 on Sunday to get to 4 under. Tied DJ. DJ tied him, however, with a huge bomb on 18, double breaking putt. About 48 feet or something like that. And then they go to the playoff hole. John Rahm proceeds to hit a 67-footer for the win. Same thing, double breaker is amazing. It's almost like there was a little bit of a funnel there, maybe possibly, but it was incredible finish to a great tournament. Like you said, honestly, I think the USGA should take some notes on what the PGA did out in San Francisco. And then along with this week, get your notepad out, take some notes, because maybe it's the golf course. We got great golf courses, a lot of trees, a lot of rough, firm greens. That's what we like to see, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a great layout, great tournament. Like you said, man, so many swinging emotions there at the end. DJ making that huge putt on the last hole of the tournament, the 72nd hole. Makes an unbelievable putt, and you kind of feel like the momentum's headed his way. Then gets a great kick off the tee on the playoff hole. DJ hit a tree. His ball mounts in the fairway, so you think things are going DJ's way. He hits his second shot closer than Rahm. Rahm's got what looks like almost an impossible 2-putt. You're thinking he's going to be lucky to get that thing up and down from there, and drains it. So just unbelievable, man. Really enjoyed seeing those two guys up there. DJ, as a lot of you know, is one of my favorites. And Rahm, I really respect his game. I respect what he's doing. Hadn't been on him as much as of late. Played him a lot the first part of his career when he first came on the tour. And I've kind of gotten away from him a little bit. I'm going to have to revisit that. I don't feel like I'm rostering him nearly as often as I used to. I had some of him at the Memorial. We talked about him on the show when he won, but it's just tough. I guess in my mind, I still don't consider Rahm there with like DJ and JT and Rory. these guys where he's routinely starting to be priced with. But he's there, man. He's proven himself to be one of the elites in the game. So great victory for Rom.
That's right. He's played well. We've been off of him for quite some time, talking about his inconsistency, his personality. He blows up coming in on the weekend at some point. You're waiting for that one bad shot, but
does he really blow up, though? I was thinking about that, and obviously there's been some times. I know the Players sticks out. The Open sticks out. But I don't know if he's maybe gotten a bad rap, and I might be part of that. With my mindset on him, it's certainly gotten me away from him. But is that fair to say that he blows up? I mean, more so than anybody else. We know he's got a little bit of a temper, but I don't know. Maybe we kind of got carried away with that.
Well, I think
any thought?
Well, I think that maybe he might still finish 8th, 10th, 12th, something like that. But it was almost like he would get up to the lead on Saturday or get up to the lead on Friday and then have a bad 6 holes and then finish 12th. I don't know. That's where I'm going with that. He did it for a long period of time. It wasn't like it was,
Yeah, it seems like, especially the first of this year, like maybe the Farmers and then like the Phoenix Open out there. Seems like he was right there in the mix a couple times and dropped down when he had great chances. Does that sound right? Earlier this year.
Yeah, I think too in Detroit he was right up there. Looked like he was going to be in the top 10 and ended up finishing 30th or something like that too.
Yeah, there's been a few of those this year. So I guess it's fair.
Blowing up for him is 15th.
Yeah, and I guess that's something we'll have to accept.
And probably when you're rostering him, you need him to finish in the top 5 to be successful.
Yeah, you do. It goes back to that pricing. When you see him up there, with those guys like DJ and JT and Rory and Brooks and those guys, when you see him up there, man, it just makes it tough. But like you said, 15th's a bad week for him. But we do need him top 5s and wins when he's priced up there with those guys, which he's starting to accumulate some wins, man, when you look at his record versus some of these younger players. He's starting to make a dent in the win column.
Absolutely. One and two in the world, like you said, big heavyweights. He's obviously a heavyweight. You're never going to be able to not put him in that at this point. So, what can you say about the guy? He's a bruiser, and he's 2 shots off the lead already, and it's just Monday.
I know, right? It's crazy. Those boys are going to be going head to head again this week. 2 shots apart.
This is where we're headed, folks. Here.
Break it down for us.
We're headed. Okay, here we go. The Tour Championship, 30-man field, no cut. Here we go. East Lake Golf Club. This is royalty, boys and girls. Royalty golf course right here. Designed in 1904 by Donald Ross. Redesigned in 94 by Reese Jones, son of Robert Trent Jones. It's hosted the 1963 Ryder Cup. It's hosted 6 Southern Ams, 1950 U.S. Women's Amateur, 2001 U.S. Amateur. First hosted after the redesign in 98, the Tour Championship. Since that time, it's hosted the Tour Championship 16 times and now is the permanent site of the Tour Championship since 2004. Course record, Zach Johnson, 60. He may have that in 2007. It's going to be played par 70 this week. Do we have the yardage yet? Does the PJ release the yardage?
Yeah, I saw it earlier.
Like 7,100 something maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
But I think the course can play up to 7,300. So
yeah, it will. I think it actually is carding out at 73 and change. Kind of similar to last week in a couple aspects. We're going to see a lot of long par 4s, which is something we discussed last week at Olympia Fields, something we discussed at Harding Park. We're going to see multiple par 4s of 450 or longer. There is going to be some bunkers, some water in play this week. It's not an easy course. Guys can go low, but it's not a pushover by any means, which kind of makes this week very interesting with guys, starting 10, 8, 7 under par. This isn't actually a course a guy can go out there and fire away and shoot 25 under on his own without that jump start, we've normally seen winning scores 10 to 12 under last 5-6 years. Rory won last year at 18, but did get some shots when he started. So a good winning score on a normal week here, 10, 12 under par, and we got DJ starting at 10, Rom starting at 8. So these guys that are a little ways back, they're going to have their work cut out for them to overcome that deficit on this course.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you something that I don't know, I hadn't heard anywhere yet, but many years in a row when the guys have rolled into this golf course, it's been in very, very dry conditions, so length hasn't been a factor. However, we've had a lot of rain here in the south over the last couple of weeks. Could play a factor, with the storms down in Louisiana coming up to Georgia. We could, length could play a huge factor, like you said, long par fours.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good call, man. Looking at the top of the board, the guys that are going to start out with kind of the big advantage, though, they're all long. DJ, Rom, JT, all those guys are long. It's not going to be an issue for many people until you start getting down to maybe Webb is a guy we'd be concerned about. He's somebody we'll talk about, took last week off. And as tough as that course played, that might be a big advantage for Webb this week because those guys kind of got beat up there in Chicago last week. So that might end up being a really smart move for Webb. But yeah, back to your point about the length, I think that's definitely something to think about. Guys aren't going to be getting rolled out off the tee. It's going to play much softer just due to all the moisture down here in the southeast, kind of around where we are. Really damp conditions right now. Going to be that way down at East Lake unless it dries out in a hurry this week, which I don't expect. I think we got some more rain coming up from the Gulf. So, yeah, great point on the length, man. It's going to play pretty long this week. Yeah,
and I mean, like, just use somebody, for example, Billy Horschel, starting out at even par, 10 shots back. I have a hard time seeing him get to 15, 16 under. I don't necessarily have a hard time seeing Rom or DJ getting to 15 under to win. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the way it's drawn up to give these guys an advantage. They've earned it via their play throughout the playoffs and the year, and it's a huge advantage. I think for me, the cutoff there, of course, this is a stacked field. All these guys are great players, but it's going to be very hard for anybody. I'm saying 3-4 under. Anybody below that, I feel like it's going to be extremely hard for them to win this tournament. They can play well, put some DFS points up on the board, maybe pull off a solid finish. But I don't see anybody 3 under or less being able to win this week, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're throwing that number out there.
And that's probably being optimistic, just because some of the guys that are at 3. Are really talented guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're seeing Rory there. That's probably because he's won here twice. Hits it a long ways. I mean, if you hit it in the fairway here and you hit it a long ways, huge advantage. So, we kind of, you've kind of already went down to. Well, you got DJ, Rom, JT. JT he's won here, I think, hasn't he? Has he won here?
I think he's done about everything except win here.
Okay.
He's been a beast here.
4 straight top 10s here. Then you got Webb, like you said, maybe advantage, but is the length going to be an issue for Webb?
Yeah, I think it will be. Which Webb always seems to be able to overcome kind of what we feel like are his deficiencies. Length being the biggest one because he's such a good long iron player. So I mean, he can certainly kind of defy those expectations with his length. But he's not played great here. I think he had a T4 here a couple of years ago. Other than that, not really a sterling track record here since 2015. But he is interesting because he will be coming in fresh. The only guy in the field that'll be coming in fresh that didn't play last week. And we know what kind of golfer he is. He's super solid, very consistent. Very accurate, which will be important here. Finds a lot of greens. So I think Webb is definitely someone to keep your eye on there this week.
Yeah, Webb starting 4 back from DJ at 6 under. Colin Morikawa not played great since the win. Who's your next guy you're looking at down the list? Berger? You like Berger at 4 under?
Yeah, you have to look at Berger just because he has been so consistent. I think you're basically when you start lineup construction this week, it's going to come down to DJ. You're either going to roster him or you're not. If you are, you can pretty well throw a lot of these guys out the window because you can't get them in. And if you're clicking DJ's name, you need to click it with the full belief that he's going to win this golf tournament. No doubt in your mind. If you're rostering DJ, that's what you have to have because you're going to have to go so far down the salary scale there. If you do roster DJ, I think on DraftKings, if you put DJ in first, you got an average left around $6,900 for your other 5 spots. So there's a lot of these guys, Rory, obviously, Berger, Xander, guys like that you're just not going to be able to get in there with DJ unless, you're really making some sacrifices. So that's your first big decision this week is whether you put DJ in there. If you don't, there's some interesting ways to go, but it's basically a DJ fade. You're thinking he's not going to win the golf tournament. That's where you can kind of get started with, looking at a Rahm, looking at a JT, looking at Webb up there, guys like that. Rory, who's won here twice in the last 4 years. Some concerns with Rory though. Did you see you're not the only one expecting a baby? Did you see Rory's big news last week?
Oh, I did not. That could explain things.
Rory has got a baby on the way. He and his wife's first. News came out last week in Chicago that it's an any day type of thing. So that explains maybe a little bit where Rory's head's been lately. It's his first child. He and his wife, they've been married a few years. But that might explain where he's been. But I'm concerned, which I think he pretty well come out and said last week, if his wife went into labor, he was out of there. And I have to imagine the same would hold true this week. So that's definitely something we might want to keep an eye on. Might have a WD risk there with Rory. He's a great player. Hadn't been in the best of form. I wasn't on him last week, but he played well before fading a little bit there over the weekend. But he's played exceptionally well here. Obviously won the FedEx Cup last year on this course. Won the tournament outright. Did the same thing a couple years before that. So he's a force on this golf course. But, there's some question marks with where he's starting this week as far as shots back. I think he's starting at 3 under, so 7 shots back. And we've got the off the course stuff to worry about. So there's a couple concerns there with Rory.
Yeah. And, kind of the knock on, I would say the knock, the thing that has always kind of put him in question with me is not the talent, obviously. It's more of is golf, not when he's on the course, there's no doubt I know he's trying. I'm not saying that. But golf is obviously life is more important to him than golf, let's just say. He doesn't have the Michael Jordan, the Tiger Woods mentality out there where you be killed, period, end of the day, which he's a heck of a competitor. We do know he's mentioned that fans not being there has not helped him at all. He loves the fans. So his mind might be everywhere. I'm sure he's been at Target clicking that gun, getting the baby stuff registry. That could explain a lot of things that we were wondering about his game, his form. So, man, good for him. Good for them.
Yeah.
I'm sure I think he's like one of the most liked guys on tour anyway. So.
Yeah, man, I really like Rory. I think he's one of the most interesting guys on the tour. Obviously, he's a generational type of talent. We might get a little frustrated as DFS players with him sometimes because you feel like maybe that focus and that killer instinct isn't there. And we wish it were, but maybe a little more often. But at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, he's probably got his priorities in order and just seems like a really good, likable, solid guy. So, yeah, really happy for Rory and hope things go well with all that.
That's right. DeChambeau, he's been going backwards now for several weeks especially on his putting is going to be good when he's up there. His driving, we know where it is. The most important stat for him week in, week out is stroke gain approach. Where have you seen that heading, and is it still going down?
Yeah, it's not been good. That's been our concern with him. Um, we obviously know when he has great driving weeks and great putting weeks, he can overcome that. But he's pretty much got to be perfect in both those areas to overcome where his iron play is right now. This course isn't a terrific setup for his game at the moment. He's played okay here in a couple previous starts at the Tour Championship. I think he's got a T19 and a T12 the last couple of years. He's always a threat. Right now, with his length, he's extremely dangerous and can go low and score and run away with the golf tournament. I don't know that he can run away with this one because of the deficit he's starting with, but I'm not super pumped to get there with Bryson this week. I think there are going to be some better spots coming up for him. So I probably won't be very heavy on Bryson, if any at all, this week.
Yeah, me neither. Interesting play right there in that same range, though, has got to be Sunjay M. 7,300. You're still getting the start-off points for him starting at 4 under. He's not been the greatest for him, but this is a tougher course, so I don't know. What's your thoughts on him? You still off of him right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm just not quick to hop back on him. He's just not giving me much reason to. Really like him, like his game, like his talent. Got the first of the year I was heavily invested in, week to week. Won at the Honda. Looked like he was set for a huge year, and man, that layoff just seemed to really wreck his game. And I just don't know that I can go back there. If I'm looking at those guys that are going to be starting at 4 under, I'm probably looking to maybe at Hideki. A good call of yours last week. Played really well last week, and you called that one. So nice job on Hideki. Berger at 4, and then dropping down to a couple guys at 3 that I really like that are starting at 3 under, Tony Finau and Xander, who I feel like have a chance to play really, really well. I just don't know if they can actually win. That's the concern this week with those guys. But, if you're going to be fading DJ, looking for point scores, Xander and Finau both played extremely well at this course, both in good form. Xander's recent results aren't going to knock you out, but he's playing really solid. And he's been money at East Lake. He's played extremely well. He's won here before. Dominates on this course. And Finau's played well here and comes in good form. We know that he dominates long par 4s. So I'm really, really interested in those guys. If I'm looking, kind of for somebody in that 3 to 4 under range starting out, I would lean those 2.
Yeah, so you like Xander over Finau, you think?
I like them both. I think you can roster both. If you try to go with a more balanced type of build using what you have salary wise, I think you can go with both of those guys and kind of hope to fade the guys at the top. There's so many different ways you can go this week, but I do like both of those guys. I don't know which one I would lean over the other. Maybe Finau, a little bit over Xander. But Xander's course history here is amazing, and he's always just really solid, man. You almost never feel bad about rostering Xander. And Finau, we know what he's capable of. Had another great outing last week. So I really like both those guys this week.
Yeah, I would say that, Xander hasn't played great since the restart. He's played solid, hasn't done anything outstanding. Finau's probably played a little better than him. He starts 1 shot behind him for the tournament, and he's 700 on DraftKings less. So I'm probably giving the nod to Finau in that spot. However, if you lined them up every day in, day out in a golf tournament where you had 4 rounds to play, you got to think you're going to pick Xander more than Finau. But I like Finau in this particular setup. Interesting there, you got Sebastian at 5,900 starting at 3 under. I don't know. You might want to roster one of these guys down in the 5s and hope. We're big on Ryan Palmer in 2020. He's way down there at 5,100, I believe, 5,400. So,
Yeah, you can certainly go there. And, if you're going with DJ at the top or even Rom or JT, you'll probably almost have to go there. Munoz is interesting. He had a huge swing season, banked a lot of FedEx Cup points, and then all of a sudden turned it on the playoffs, and that's how he's here this week. So it's not a fluky deal. He played really well during the swing season, then kind of dipped down, but he's got it going again now. So he's a guy you can maybe try to ride the hot hand with. Like you said, he's starting at 3 under, I believe. So, that's not that bad this week. Billy Horschel, we touched on, has played extremely well here. Previous winner here, won a FedEx Cup here. A guy that can get hot, the guy that we're always targeting on Bermuda Greens, which is what they'll be facing this week. I think Horschel's an interesting play down there. I think he'll be extremely popular, though, because of the course history. I expect you'll see a ton of DJ Horschel combination lineups this week. So that's something you might want to try to play around with, maybe differentiate yourself a little bit. We do only have 30 guys in the field. Then you got one of my guys that kind of popped up last week out of nowhere, Neiman. What do you think about my boy coming in hot last week at the BMW?
I mean, Neiman, we're always going to worry about his putting. He putted pretty good last week. I have trouble with him week in, week out because consistency he's never really shown. He's so hard to peg, man. And I'm a fan of him sometimes to my detriment. But I just really like his game. But he's really tough to peg when he's going to play well. One thing I kind of am making a mental note of, Neiman on tough golf courses like we saw last week. Long golf courses, tough golf courses. Really seems to suit Neiman because he is such a talented ball striker. He can give himself opportunities when a lot of guys can't. So that's kind of a mental note I'll be making with Neiman. Yeah, I don't know that he's a great play this week just because of where he is, but just wanted to give him a little shout out for playing great last week. Yeah, I'd say that this guy right here is going to break your heart because we got to be fading Vic Hovland this week.
Yeah, we were big on Hovland. I know I was. I think you were too last week. He didn't play great. He seemed to – I follow a lot of his rounds on Shot Tracker, and it seemed to be like 1 step forward, 2 steps back for most of the week. He'd come out and make a couple birdies, look like he was getting it going, then make a double, or put a couple bogeys up back to back. So I never want to count him out. I do have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth from last week with him, but he's just such a talented guy that you never want to completely count him out. I'll actually probably kind of keep an eye on ownership, and if he's going to go under-owned, I wouldn't be hesitant to hop back on. But, he burnt quite a few people last week, including me.
So, Joe, I got you back in here with me on the screen. In closing, who do you pick out of the hat here? We got 30 players, no cut. You're starting out in a starting position with points already in there. With the salaries, the points, where you're starting out in the field, who you going to? Who you starting out your roster with? Who's your guy? I'm not going to say who's your guy for your picking out of the litter, but who you starting your roster with this week?
Well, I think you have to make a choice on DJ. And I don't know that I've completely – we're doing this on Monday, and I don't know that I've completely made that choice yet. Obviously, if you believe DJ is going to win this tournament, you're rostering him for that reason. You're going to make some sacrifices throughout the rest of your lineup if you put him in there due to his huge price tag. So I think you've got to decide where you stand with DJ before you do anything else this week. If you're not going with DJ, I think you have to pay attention to JT there with his course history here and where he stands. He's at 7 under starting the week, I believe, which is only 3 shots back. Certainly a deficit that he can overcome. Certainly capable of playing well, even though he's kind of had some underwhelming outings since the win in Memphis. So I look JT and DJ up the top. As you move down, I like Xander, like Finau there, kind of in the mid-range. If you're going to fade the guys at the top, Rory's one to consider. But I am a little bit worried about the WD issue. Then when you drop down, man, it kind of gets thin quick. You're almost, you're just taking some chances. A guy like Billy Horschel, Lanto Griffin, Ryan Palmer, some guys like that we've kind of leaned on at discounts, over the past couple months. Those are guys you can pair with DJ if you want to get him in there. There's just a lot to consider this week, man. It's certainly I like the format from just a golf fan perspective. I like that where everybody stands and whoever wins the tournament wins the FedEx Cup. I hated that a couple of years ago when Tiger won the tournament, but Justin Rose won the FedEx Cup. I don't know if you remember that and watched it, but it pretty well sucked because, everybody's pumped about Tiger, but then you got Rose just standing there. He's actually the real winner of the FedEx Cup. So I like the change that they made from a golf fan perspective, but I don't know that I'm in love with it from a DFS perspective because it does make it tough and kind of tricky to consider, especially for casual players. It's kind of tough to just throw in a lineup and have some fun this week. It's something you really got to sit down and consider. But there's a lot of ways to go. The big question being whether you play DJ or not.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't mention the guy that I'm pulling out of a hat.
Who's your guy?
The guy ain't scared to go low on long courses. And he's 7,600. He's starting at 3 under, Brendan Todd.
Ooh.
He's going to I think he's going to get lost in all this. He's good. He's right around Xander and Rory and just below Matsuyama, just below that whole group on the starting price. He ain't scared to make birdies. We know that on long course. The guy can shoot. He can shoot low numbers on long courses, short courses, tight courses. It don't matter. He hasn't seemed to always get it together. But that's that's my guy, 7,600, starting at 3 under, Brendan Todd.
Man, it's I'm really glad you brought him up. Such a cool story. Such an impressive year for him. This is a dude that a couple of years ago had the full swing yips. Basically just lost his swing. Was basically totally out of the game. Had to rebuild, start from the ground back up. So it's been so impressive what he's been able to do, and such a cool story for him. Really cool thing to see. And I like the call, man. He hits tons of fairways, hits tons of greens, great Bermuda putter. So that's a really, really good call, man.
I appreciate it. So, guys, we're headed out now. You have listened to the first full season of the Turd Fantasy Golf Pod. We appreciate all the love, all the follows, all the likes, all the shares. Keep them coming. We're not taking any time off. 2021 season starts next week. Remember, folks, 30 players, no cut. Look at the starting positions before you do a lineup. We got a special thing coming to you here maybe next week, as long as the baby doesn't come this week, and that is going to be we're going to do a little sub episode to this. It's going to be called the Sunday Stroll edition of the Turd Fantasy Golf Podcast, where me and Joe and I will discuss our little fantasy league and who we like for the week every week. And it's not going to be a long show, a drawn out show, in-depth show like this, because we are nowhere near thought as people in that industry, in the NFL industry, that knows what they're talking about. But hey, we're just regular guys like you. And remember, go to rotoballer.com, use the promo code NICE to get the PGA premium package for $49.99. You got anything else to say on the way out, Joe?
No, that's it, man. Just looking forward to watching this tournament. It'd be pretty cool to see DJ win. I'd like to see him get a FedEx Cup. Maybe make up for him missing the major this year. And like you said, man, we're turning right back around next week. We're headed out west. Then we got the U.S. Open in a couple of weeks. So this is kind of the end, but not the end. So thank you all for checking us out. We appreciate all the likes and follows and all that stuff. Just like Andrew said, hope you'll stick with us throughout the fall.
That's right. This is the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast signing off for 2020. See you guys.
I just need you. Straighten me out. If 5